Hello and welcome back to the show. I have an incredible guest with me today. I am so excited. I've been buzzing with energy, and I know she has too this whole day. I have Dez with me. She is the creator of the Energetic Detox, which helps you connect to your health blueprint. And she is a nurse, an integrative health practitioner, and a high energy healer. And we got connected a little while ago, but I have actually been in her energetic container. So we're going to just talk about all this good stuff about what this is and just welcome in, Des. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and happy Friday the 13th.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we're on the witchiest day.
Yes, so much good luck.
I know. So you'll be listening to this episode and it's released on the 20th, but just know that this recording is just in the pure witchiness, just energetic of the Friday the 13th. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, I
Oh my
saw it and I was
gosh.
like, I have got to book on that day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I was like, I knew I had to create some sort of magic there. Yeah, so Des and I got originally we were connected many months ago in a container we were together called the Goddess Codes with Christine in the channel. And now I've been able to be part of her container. So I love you to just kind of I want to start first about maybe your journey and what got you here. Take us back as far as you want us to go with you and just kind of let us know what the starting point for you creating this container and stepping into your mission with this.
Mhm. Yes. Okay. I will hit the highlights. I feel like my very first awakening was through health. And I feel like I was pretty young. I was like early 20s, like 20, 21 actually. And I grew up with older sisters, which I think is why I chose this family because they're like 9+ years older than me. And so when
Whoa.
I was like early 20s, they, were approaching their 30s and all that stuff. And they were into health and wellness. So they like got me on this track with health and wellness. And I actually, veganism really woke me up to that. And I'm no longer vegan, but I feel like that's a really big part of this container as well, which I'll get to in a little bit. But so veganism really woke me up and like my health drastically changed when I went to basically a whole foods diet. And I was like 23 and I started having these health symptoms. My liver enzymes were elevated, like normal is 10 to 26 and they were like in the 50s and in the 80s. I was having really bad pain with intercourse, which was so terrible for my
Oh
relationship, which is,
my
it was my
God.
boyfriend then, but he's my husband now. And I had this really bad rash around my mouth, which was labeled as perioral dermatitis. And I was struggling with a little bit of weight loss resistance, even though I was marathon training, eating whole foods, all the things. So I was going through nursing school at the time of all this health awakening happening. And I was working in a hospital as a CNA. And so I can still remember the moment. I was a CNA, I was working night shift. I was taking a person to the bathroom, and I remember having a full visceral body like, no. There has
Mm.
got to be a better way to age with grace. My whole vessel said like, no, this is not my story. This is not how I'm going to, spend my elderly years. Not that there's anything wrong with that and how people want to live their life. That's up to them. But I just remember
Hmm.
like I had this visceral reaction, like there's got to be more to this. And so my plan was to go to nursing school and then become a nurse practitioner and then specialize in natural medicine. And so, fast forward, graduated from nursing school in the field, enrolled in nurse practitioner school, ready to do all the things. And I just remember feeling all this resistance because I was like, "Ugh, I'm basically going to get this nurse practitioner degree just for the name, just for the name,
Uh,
And
yeah.
that's a lot of money. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy just for the name. It was at that point that I was having these symptoms. And then I found Emily Morrow. And I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she specialized in functional blood chemistry. She created like this, her own form of root cause medicine using like functional blood chemistry and detoxing. And I like went down that rabbit hole, started detox, like took her course, detoxed myself, and all of my symptoms like went away. And I was like,
Whoa.
okay, why don't I just do this instead of going to nurse practitioner school? So I
Yeah.
dropped out of nurse practitioner school. It was going to start in like a month. And I pursued this path hardcore. I became an integrative health practitioner. I took her course on functional blood chemistry, which is basically like a more holistic way of reading blood work,
Mm.
because our blood work is based on the average of the American population and the people who are, hospitalized. And like, that's exactly why my doctor was looking at my labs, and I had one lab out of order. Yet I'm having all these symptoms, and she couldn't tell me what's wrong with me. She's like, "Well, all of your labs are normal except for your liver enzymes."
Ugh, so
However,
many people
I
have that
know.
happen. There's a few things. Okay, so I want to interject real quick before we
Yeah.
continue. So I didn't know this about ourselves, but this is something that I had also really thought or felt when I was also a nurse. So Des and I both have a background in nursing. And so I had that same feeling of like there has to be ways that we can heal more than what I am currently seeing right now. Because what
Yes.
I had seen was more on like the heart side, where we're just over and over having these surgeries over and over and still living the same way, still harboring the same energy there and having the same issues, and then having this poor quality of life as you get older. And so I had that same like there's got to be a different way than what this is providing for us.
Yes.
And I also had thought about that of like, okay, how can I help more people? And naturally, just I think the normal way to think about like healing and health and being a provider, like you just think if I have more of the schooling and if I just get in deeper and then I'll be able to help. And it's like kind of, oh, there's just so much there that is
Yeah.
not working. A lot of it's helpful, but a lot of it, like you said, blood work in general, the way that it's looked at is, people can have all these symptoms, but then they look healthy and they're like, okay, nothing's wrong with you, but the person is like feeling all these things inside. So I just have to
Mm.
say that I felt resonant with that in my story. Also, food also kind of woke me up originally. I was also a marathoner and I went into
I
like
did not
vegan.
know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So this is the first time I like really started to like get into health, I guess, was when I started to I would use running and marathon training as a way of working through my emotions, rather running away from my emotions. But that's how I
Mm.
started to process things once I became a nurse. And I was like, whoa, I could run really far because I was just kind of trying to work through
It
things
was
in
your
my body.
release.
Yeah, and so I didn't know how to release any other way, and because I just bottled everything up. And then I had found this guy that was like, "Oh, try for your marathon training, try to go plant-based and see how you feel." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll try that." I was super experimenting at that time, and I just felt really good. And I did that for like 6 years until I was like my body was so deprived and, went right back to eating meat. But it was more that I felt great on wholer foods and I was starting to like
Yeah.
kind of get in tune with the body. And so, yeah, it was just interesting that
Yeah.
I
And
kind of was that in my young 20s too. So,
that's amazing. Okay, soul connection for sure. This is
yeah,
so
right.
funny. So, with veganism, it holds such a dear, special place to my heart, because without it, I would have never been who I am now. I would have
Mm.
never found Ahai, which I'll get into in my story.
Yeah.
But it was in such alignment with me at that time for like 7 years.
Wow.
I loved it. I was thriving. My body just loved it. I was juicing. Like I loved it. I literally have nothing bad to say about it because it was in alignment for me. And that's where
Mm,
this piece in like the natural medicine world, there's all this like war, like, no, you need to eat this, and no, this is the way to eat. And it's like, it doesn't fucking matter if it's in alignment with you, that's what's right. And so
yeah.
it was really hard for me to end that period of my life, because I do have such love for animals, and I know you do too.
Mhm.
But I could feel in my bones that it was like my vessel needed to shift as I was doing all this energy work. It needed something else. And I really had to release my ego on that because I was like, no, this has been
Yeah.
working for me for so long. And I'm not eating an animal. Like I would feel awful.
Yeah.
I did cry the first time I had meat again. And I literally had to surrender and be like, okay, body,
Mhm.
you're giving me the signs. You gave me the signs for like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
It's time. Like, I need to be in alignment with you, and I will surrender to this. Even though I can't make sense of it, I'm going to surrender. And this was hard because two of my sisters are like hardcore vegans, and they've been very supportive, but like it was really hard because, and I kept it from them for a while because, I'm so close with them. And this was a big part of how we connected and who we were. We'd
Yeah.
have our own
Yeah.
meals together. It just was something that we were all so passionate about. And it was like, that point, I had to separate myself from that and just surrender to my vessel and just be like, I want to surrender to you because without you, I can't even be here.
Ugh. Yeah, I know what that shift's like because and you said it so well is that there's so many like, okay, this is the right diet, this is the right exercise, this is the right thing to do. And it is if it's like if that is resonant or in alignment at that time for you specifically. And we're not taught to live that way or
No.
try things on for seasons or chapters or whatever. And so when I made that shift, I'm very impressed with you being totally vegan, but I tried it and I couldn't go that far, but I just stayed like pescatarian. But
Yeah.
I'd never thought I would ever eat meat again because I felt so good on it.
Yeah.
And I did that for 6 years. I pushed it and I really should have probably stopped at 4, maybe 4.5. And because of that whole like identity that I created around this of like,
Yes.
I don't eat meat. This is the way I like, this would make me feel good. I'm a marathon runner and all this kind of stuff. And it was like attached to that identity of myself. And I didn't know how to look at myself without that anymore because it was so
Yes.
strong of like who I was how I ate, which is really interesting. And then, yeah, one day I was just like, I literally cannot not eat. Like something came over me. And of course, at this time, I wasn't so tapped into my intuition or knew about energy. I was just like the baby of baby steps of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so one day, it just totally like something came over me. And I was at like in the work lunchroom with a gal that would make like really good food. She'd always offer her meal to me, and it would always be meat based. And I would be like, remember, don't eat meat. And so one day she offered it to me, and I like looked at her and I just knew. I was like, yeah, I'll have some. And I'm eating it. Like 10 minutes go by and she's like, oh, that has meat in it. And so it was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I know. Like, this is, I'm going to try it. And I went home later that day and I swear to God, I feel like I had like a whole chicken. Like I ate so much meat and I was worried that like I was going to have gut issues
Yeah.
because you kind
Because
of
you
hear
don't
about
you
that.
don't have those digestive enzymes anymore. You have to like work your way back into building it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but, like, I had no issues. I
Me
went
neither.
literally 0 to 100 because I think my body was like, "We need this."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really yeah, that's really, really interesting.
Well, and my body was giving me signs as like when I was vegan, like I said, it was so in alignment. It was so in alignment. I never had any cravings for any animal products at all. Like all my body wanted was plants. And then I started getting like I'd be on Instagram and I'd see bone broth and I'd be like, oh, God, that sounds so good. And I'm like, what? I was like, where did that come from? Or I'd see salmon. I'm like, oh, that sounds just so nourishing. And I'm like, what is this? Like, where is this coming from? And I just
Yeah,
like intuitively knew, but I sat with it
yeah,
for a little bit until I just knew. It just got to the point.
yeah.
And my
Was
husband was
there
vegan too. And so this was like a huge like this was really hard for me and my ego.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
but I surrendered to my body because that's what we have to do because your
Wow.
body is your partner in this life and it's a co-creation between you and your vessel. And that's what, so much of this container in my story has been about me surrendering to my vessel, getting deeper connected with it. And, now I want to like help other people do this because it's such a big part of their mission is connecting with your vessel. That's how you live your mission is through your vessel. So
Yes. Ugh. We literally could not be here if it was like if
I
it
know.
wasn't for our body. So, and of course, like the more that we feel in coherence with it and we feel more clear and connected and we don't hate on it or we're not like, oh, I wish you were this way or whatever. More things can drop in and actually get down to business of why we're here, which has really been one of the biggest things your containers helped me with. But
Mhm.
kind of want to go back to a little, I don't know why I'm going deeper into this just really quickly, but I want to touch on what do you think the energetic shift for you was going from vegan to meat? Was there something energy wise that you felt like, or was it just a different calibration of energy? Do you know kind of what that was?
Like
Was it anything specific that you now hindsight can
the
see or?
energetic shift from, I feel like what it was a big initiation for me because at that point I had been like, I would been listening to Christina Rice's podcast, like in her, some of her, containers in her membership, working with another energy healer, which I want to talk about when we go back to
Yeah.
my story. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was basically like introduced that past year of energy healing and living intuitively, but I wasn't fully like, it didn't fully ground in. I feel like the moment I decided to do that, I was in true surrender for the first time in my life. And
Mm.
also, it was like right at the time I went to one of Christina's retreats for the first time. It was like right before. I had meat, actually, I had chicken for the first time at her retreat. And after that retreat, like my whole reality shifted, and I truly was
Wow.
devoted to living an intuitively led life. And like that really was like a turning point. So I feel like it was like a really big initiation. Like, okay, you've done all this, like, fluffy stuff, the affirmations, all that stuff. But now it's like, are you going to take action on following your
Mm.
intuition when it comes
Are
up?
you
And
gonna
it
live
was,
it? Yeah.
yeah. And it like really
Yeah.
opened the
Okay.
door for me. And I felt like it kind of felt like an initiation into this next deeper into me.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, okay, really that was really good. I think that that's what, like, yeah, that's what we needed
That's
out of
what,
that chunk
okay,
is
good.
that yeah, I was like, "Something's there for me to bring this up again." Okay, because I think we can think of initiations being, I don't know, super, like and this is how, like, spiritual gifts can come in too that I've been realizing, and the whole process of being connected to the intuition or to your soul, and you think it's just gonna be this, like, big thing or this, like, really dramatic moment, but it could be these small little initiations of, like, shift this, change this diet, do this, and you're like, "Why this makes no sense. I've been doing it this way for so many
Yes.
years." Just what you had said that that was an initiation for you is just yeah, I
And
think
it
that's gonna be
felt like,
huge.
too, this is another piece that was really big. I felt like after I did that shift and felt so empowered in my decision and surrender, if I could do that, if I could put my ego on the line for that, something that made me who I was, and I could make that shift, I can do anything. So it like brought me
Yeah.
in this like fearlessness of like facing my fear.
Ah,
What is my family going to say? I'm a health coach, and I've been talking about, I never was preachy really because I always was following the path of individuality. Like what I'm doing isn't going to work for everybody. But I was like, okay, I'm a health coach. I'm making this big shift. And if I could face that, I could do anything. So it was like
mm,
an initiation and facing my fear. So it
mm,
was really big.
cool. Okay, thank you for that. Alright,
Yeah.
so back to your story. Take us
Yeah,
back
yeah.
again.
Okay, so I became an integrative health practitioner,
Mhm.
started detoxing people, and then I hit this point in my journey where my health was great, but mentally and emotionally, I was at a very, very low point. I
Mm.
felt very depressed. I was literally crying on the way to work. I like commute an hour to work. So I'm like sitting in my car bawling, like just lots of emotions about the world stage, everything. And one day, one of the vegan bloggers that I followed on Instagram, she posted about this session she had with this energy healer. And I don't know, I mean, I know now, but when I saw her talking about that, I like followed this person immediately. And within a week of following her, she launched this container of like, it was like an 8-week container, like introducing you to spirituality and like using the pendulum and setting up protection and all that stuff. And I never really heard of energy healing. I wasn't really big into it. And every cell in my body was pulling me to this. And I was literally sitting at work, signing up, like on my phone at work, like, I need to be in this container. And it was a lot of money. It was like a lot of money for me at that time. And actually, like, I'm so proud that I did that because that was like a really big investment for me at that time. And joined her container. And I remember the first session I had with her was a one-on-one container. The first session was one-on-one, and then it was a group. And she could tell me things about myself and how I felt and certain ages of things that happened. And I was like shook. I was shook. And she ended up being like a huge part of my journey. Her name is Carly Kurtz. She was my very first energy healer. And she is just a beautiful, supportive channel that I just owe everything to this woman. And she opened me up to this world of energy healing. And then the deeper I went on my energy healing journey, somewhere along the way, I found Christina, and then delved deep into her world. I started having physical symptoms that were not going away with everything I learned physically. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Like, all of these symptoms should go away with what I know, with all of my natural medicine detoxing information, but they just weren't. And it was because they were connected to energy blocks in my life. And it was like, as soon as I made certain decisions that were truly in alignment, like the veganism thing, like the months leading up to that, I was breaking out. I had acne, which I've never struggled with acne ever.
I had that same issue.
And I just got really, like, I wasn't like overweight, but I just got really
Yeah.
husky again. Like, that's just
I
like
love
a
that. I call it fluffy. You're like a little
fluffy
extra fluffy,
husky,
but husky is a good
whatever.
word too.
I just got and my emotions were like dysregulated again. Like I was back to feeling hopeless and, down about my life. And then it was as soon as I started taking action that was in alignment, the symptoms went away. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, like I became so deeply devoted to energy healing. I knew I had to become a practitioner. So I signed up for Ahai through
Mhm.
Christina. Um,
And tell me before you continue, so people have a little context, what is a high? And yeah, give us
yeah.
the
So
explanation of that.
Ahai is a form of energy. It is different than Reiki. I don't know a ton about Reiki, but I do
Mhm.
know that Ahai specifically is channeled from the seventh dimension. It's like
Mhm.
a dimension that has a lot of divine feminine entities and really like powerful angels and feminine energy there.
Yeah.
Like I work a
Okay.
lot with the goddesses.
Yes.
So we're specifically
Cool.
channeling energy specifically from that dimension. It
Mhm.
comes through me, out of me, into you, or whoever I'm, giving energy healing to. And we use
Mhm.
that energy. It's such a high potent frequency to clear and transmute and move the energy that's in this 3D dimension. And
Yes.
we need to wake up to the fact that our spiritual ascension is such a physical process because
Mhm.
we are literally a soul in a vessel. Like our soul wouldn't be here without this. This is literally what houses our soul. And to think that the two aren't connected is insane. Like the more I've gone down this journey, I'm like,
Literally.
literally,
Oh my
soul
gosh.
is in this thing.
I don't know if this is the natural way people go about things, but this is my experience in that was like, okay, before awakening, it was like, okay, all you know is your body and you're just this vessel. And then when I had my first like baby first awakenings, it was like, oh, I'm just a spiritual. And then I'm looking at my body in this earth reality as like, the classic saying of like, this is my meat suit and I'm on a
Yeah.
rock and nothing really matters. And you were all spiritual. So then I swung to the other side of the pendulum and I'm like now just thinking, trying to just meditate and just try to be in the spirituals and the upper chakras and all that kind of stuff and want to be just then really upset that I'm here. And then I'm like super interested in the star families and you want to just channel and all this kind of stuff. And then in my experience, I completely disconnected from the body. And then you realize, oh wait,
It's a
you need
physical
both.
experience.
And then you're like, okay, let's just mush the two together. And
Yes.
that's, I think, I don't know if that's a typical way of process of like what the kind of journey of the spiritual journey. I think a lot of people I talk to have that experience, so I don't know if everybody has that experience, but I know that was really strong for me. And so when I've been starting to like come back into that middle, which your container has hugely been able to
Mm.
help me with, is like merge that super huge spirit, soul, self into like a really loving marriage with your body and co-creating with that. So I just think that's a really interesting thing where we try to like jump out of our body and it's like, wait, we just also have all the messaging, all the codes, all the information. There's so much in our body that we don't even realize, I think. And that's hugely, like you had talked to earlier, that things are just super masked in our typical medical
Yeah.
industry.
And it's like, okay, I love that you talked about like, when we do enter this spiritual world of spirituality, or at least just like you, I did. I was like, I just want to connect. I just want to be up here with the guides and I just want
Yeah.
to, be with the divine. But the whole point of coming here is to get a body. Get a
Just
body.
to be here.
It is be able to feel your soul in your body through those gut feelings, through your senses. Like
Yeah.
it is your divine life partner. Your body is your divine life partner.
Whew.
And
Oh, it's a good one.
gives you your power here. Your soul can't do anything here without this vessel. And we need to pull more of your soul into your body and get you so deeply connected to your body that
Mm.
you can feel your intuition so clearly and you can move through this life with living an intuitively led life so clearly so that you can live your mission with ease. And that starts with one, cleansing your vessel, because the soul isn't going to there's going to be resistance from your soul, like, being in your head to coming into your body when the body's polluted with toxins and all this other 3D stuff, but then also, all the soul stuff, like all the energetic piece. Your body's polluted energetically with all the content, all the people, everything that's out of alignment with you and like getting into your field. But then it's also polluted with all the toxins. And there is a big agenda in the 3D world to disconnect people, women especially, from their vessels. And, I was watching the movie I Feel Pretty recently. I've seen it, but they had me rewatch it. And I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it's,
I haven't. I'm gonna have to put this on my list.
yeah,
Okay.
Amy Schumer is in it. And I'm watching her. So the context of this movie is she thinks her life would be so much easier if she was beautiful and pretty, and she just
Mhm.
wants to be pretty. And so she ends up falling and like hitting her head, and she sees herself as pretty, even though nothing has physically changed. But the way she's showing up is different, and it's impacting her reality. It's impacting
Mm,
how she's living.
okay.
But I'm watching her, they show her, there's this really beautiful raw moment, which we've all experienced, of she pauses and she's standing in the mirror. This is before she hits her head. And she's looking at her body with so much disgust and shame and sadness. And it was in that moment, I'm feeling it now, like women especially are spending so much damn time hating their vessel and feeling so disconnected from it that they're not seeing their true power that's in their body. They should be looking at it with fucking awe and joy and beauty and love, because this body is giving you the ability to feel. It's giving you the ability to taste. It's giving you the ability to create and be here in this life and actually live. And I know, like, yes, maybe we don't look exactly the way we want, but guess what? Change starts when we become one with our body, and that can all shift when you stop looking at your body with so much shame and disgust and start looking at it with beauty and awe. And that starts by seeing the connection that you truly have with it and how powerful it is. It breaks my heart that there's so many women focused on the scale, focused on their wrinkles, focused on how they look. It's instead of focusing on their power in this world and what their vessel and their soul can do in this life together. And, imagine you're married to your vessel, you're married to your partner, and you sit there and you just look at it and you speak to it the way you speak to your body. You're so ugly.
Mm.
Why? I wish you were this way. You're so fat.
Ugh.
Like think about the energetics you're creating, this disconnect from your body more and more and more. And it wants you to understand it so that you can live you're creating this life together. It wants to be one with you. It wants you to see its divinity. And that's, like I said, one, connecting with your higher self, but also cleaning the vessel, healing the vessel, and understanding this beautiful dance the energetics and the physical body have together and marrying the two. And
Mm.
just that's what this container represents too. It's like, I want women to see this intricate connection that their soul has with their vessel. And I just want them to see their body in a new light, because they're wasting me. I did this for so many years. I wasted so much time focusing on what I didn't like about my body instead of seeing the absolute divinity it is to
Yeah,
have this
yeah.
body.
I mean, God, we see this all over media and our relationships and our mothers and our aunts and our grandmothers. And it goes so deep. And I think that's why this is so incredible that you're offering this. And we have these conversations now more in little safe spaces for women. And we have these kind of conversations starting of like, wait a minute, all this, rewriting all of that has, I think, also not just you and your thoughts and what you're thinking about your body, but all of the women that came before you and your ancestors of all the issues that they had with their body and what was kind of almost expected of you or valued or what would make you valued. And it, has changed if you look at popular culture or society, the ideal body type changes a few different decades. So you have to be really thin this time, and then you're super curvy this time. And then, so it's really chaotic for our brain to try to uh, assimilate to that, to be like, oh, I have value if I look like this. And
Mm-hmm.
especially in this age where we have so much media and so much now, like filters and AI stuff, and it's just really difficult. I super felt in this trap in my mid 20s of thinking like, okay, I have to be really thin. So I, would, run a bunch or not eat very much, or it would be super. And I look back at photos of myself. I have so much love for her, but I look at a photo that I had sent and I was like participated in like a new challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was taking like before photos of like this challenge, and I didn't have an ounce to lose. Like
Yeah.
there was nothing there. I was like this. And it was like, what? It's like that really severe like body dysmorphia
Yes.
happens of like what you expect from it. And then, like you said, you just shame and you shit all over this body. And we're never really taught to like, oh, really love and support um and love on all parts of that kind of stuff. So it's a really huge thing to fight out of and really try to dismantle that within ourselves and recreate this relationship within us. And then when we do that, like we shift everyone that comes after us. We shift
Mm.
how we feel about our bodies, shifts how other people feel about their bodies. And I've noticed this even with my relationship with my mom, where she was so hard on herself. And then now she's not. She's super loving to herself. And it's like, that helps recode and rewrite things of, so if I'm really loving to myself, I'm helping in the way that I feel and think about my body. It'll help women around me in my friendships and future children. Like then it helps them feel really
Mm.
supportive in their body. And yeah, like you said, the timepiece, I wasted so much fucking time trying to fix and perfect different areas or whatever, fillers or Botox. And I fell into that a few times and I was like, wait, what am I doing? And so it takes the ability to zoom out and feel like, oh, I don't have to do it this way. Like I don't have to live like this. And so I'm really happy that you went there with, especially with women, because it's so powerful. We have so much power. And when we're able to like, oh, we're just going to really embrace and step into our power and feel like really feed our body nutrients and detoxify of what you offer and really be able to expand ourselves and not feel, and has to do, I think, energetically too, of so much of what we're used to is how can I be more palatable, tolerable, shrinking yourself. And that's really energetically being small. And so I think when you mirror that with the body, then you're like, okay, how could I be smaller? And then the energy's smaller. And then, of course, you have all this shit wrong with you because you're just swallowing your energy and your power. There's nowhere for it to go. So when you start to be like, oh, I can take up space, my body could take up space, my energy field could take up space, then you're able to just really do what you're here to do. So thank you for
Yes.
that bit of, Yeah, it's huge. So,
And there's this piece too. The guides, they once told me, they're like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Incredibles, but they each have their
yeah.
own powers and their own super suits. They're
Yes.
like, your body is your super suit. And you all are
Uh,
sitting here. You have the most unique super suit on the planet. Nobody else has a super suit like you. Yet you're sitting here trying to act and feed your body and dress your body and everything like it's Frozone. But really, you're
yeah.
this whole unique super suit that nobody even
Yeah.
knows. And it's like, so stop trying to force your body into the conventional supersuit that society has built for us, and start to
Yeah.
figure out your own your superpowers and
Uh,
connected with your supersuit, because it's so
yeah.
unique and it's dying, it's longing to have a relationship with you. And that's
Yeah.
another thing, is like another reason to my why there's three pieces to this container. One of the reasons is because, yes, the natural functional medicine world is so incredible and it's opened so many doors for so many people. However, it's heavily saturated with a lot of scarcity, a lot of fear, a lot of confusion of what to eat. What, no, this is the way you
Mm.
do it. No, actually, this is the way you do it. And it's like, whoa, let's take a step back and see, guess what? This thing that somebody told me about is great for this version of me and was in such alignment. And now what this person is talking about feels so in alignment for me. And that's where the energetic detox is like, I'm tuning into specifically what your soul and your vessel need at that specific time of detox to get through this phase and move on to the next. So it's always changing. Like, think about how much your protocol has changed, like every 2 weeks,
Oh my gosh.
with different like foods and stuff, like,
Yeah.
right? To like, so at first it was raw milk with honey and,
Mhm.
using that as like a heart opener and a soother. And then it
Mhm.
transitioned to like what, watermelon juice, cucumber water to help purify your blood and your lymph. And
Yeah.
it's going to change with each phase that we're in, and whatever your specific vessel needs. And then I have another client going through the energetic detox where, like, her vessel, literally, she is trying to tap into her divine feminine power. And in order for her divine feminine power to come through into her vessel and radiate through, her vessel needs more masculine structure. So she needs more masculine foods,
Mm.
because we are literally rebuilding her cellular health with a more masculine structure to hold her divine feminine power. And so it's like, we need to get back to, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's just alignment.
Yes, that's so true. Okay, so I want to rewind a little bit with the container where
Mm,
so you were going through that, you then started to you got on your energy journey. You then were introduced to Ahai. So then you were like, okay, I want to be an Ahai practitioner. And
yes.
so when did you, before we get super into the container further, when did you realize that it needed to be energy detox and physical body detox? And was it along your path of like fixing your symptoms that you're like, okay, you need both to be able to have a cohesive body relationship and soul relationship?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it was working with myself and all of my stuff, but it was also, I saw it in the clients that I was working with, like detoxing just regularly without any energy healing. I would witness two clients, well, more than that, but depending on who I'm working with, two clients with similar toxins, similar, problems, health problems. And client A had this energetic support, like the energetics were more in alignment. I could feel in her life, in what she's doing, everything, and her mindset, and she would
Mm,
fly through the detoxing with so
mm,
much more ease. Versus client 2, I could tell there was a lot of stress in the family unit, there was a lot of energetic stuckness going on in the life,
mhm,
but it was almost like they just wanted to go through the motions of taking these supplements, taking, like, it
mm,
was a total different energetic piece. And I noticed, okay, the energetics have to be there in order for the detoxing to like go so much more quickly and effortlessly, you know?
gotcha.
So it was
Okay.
really like in my client work, seeing, wow, this person is like flying through this. And I can tell they are so supported in their home life. They are like, they have that motivation and that drive, and they are doing personal work versus,
Mm,
somebody who's maybe just like hoping that this supplement is going to fix them and not
mm,
looking at the deep, shadow work and going through the energetics and focusing on
yeah.
that. So I knew I wanted to, after I became an Ahai practitioner, I like rebranded to the Velvet Rose or Velvet Rose Healing. I love both those names. That's a different story for a
I
different
do
time.
too. It feels so luxurious, like so feminine,
It is.
so luxurious, so supportive. I'm just like, when I read it, I'm just like, and that's how your container feels like. It
Oh,
literally feels
thank you.
like yeah, it's just, it's insane.
Thank you.
But okay, that's really interesting that you saw like both of those experiences, because it almost feels like how you're describing the detox, just on the detox side, of almost how we feel like in traditional Western medicine of, I'm just relying on this pill to fix it. I'm just relying on the surgery to fix it. And it kind of is that same tone of like, okay, I'm just going to holistically now just take the detox pills and not really work on that other part.
Yes.
And it's like kind of separating that real known aspect of, okay, we're energy beings and we're physical beings. So what are we doing for both?
Yes.
So, okay,
And
cool.
and that's like for some clients, it was like, let me take these pills, it'll be fine. I'm just gonna keep, have high cortisol levels throughout the day, running my 9 to 5, getting the kids to school. Like I'm not gonna make any downtime for myself and actually give
Mhm.
my body the chance to heal. But then for some, it was like I saw the beliefs that were so like wired into their vessel, like they didn't think that their vessel could heal. Like they felt like this
Mm.
disease was such a big part of them that they didn't think that they could heal. And so I saw the magic, like after I became an Ahai practitioner and everything I went through with, receiving Ahai myself for years, I just like, I was sitting there in consults. I'm like, oh, I just want to use Ahai and like clear out those beliefs and like rewire and get new beliefs and new energy and just get them really connected to their vessel in a new way. And so I initially, after I rebranded, I was like, okay, I will keep doing what I'm doing with detoxing, but then make like whoever wants to do in a high session during their detox will get like a discounted price because I want people to do it because it heals them quicker. And then like I went through there was so much that needed to happen energetically
A
for me.
death and rebirth.
Death and rebirth, a lot had to happen to me, which we won't get into.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
okay.
be talking about that on my Instagram here soon, but a lot
Awesome.
had to happen to me this year before this could
Yeah,
be birthed.
yeah.
Eventually, all the energetic piece that I needed to go through happened. And I was in a session with one of our friends who has been in containers with us, Jordana
Uh-huh.
Levine. Levine.
Levine, yeah.
Yes,
It
Jordana
sounds like
Levine.
starts with that little
No, I specifically asked her, I was like, I need
uh
to know how to say her last name. And so I knew it's Jordana Levine. Okay. But she became a really close friend of mine after one of the retreats I went to. And I was doing a session with her because she's an Akashic healer and reads your Akashic records. And she's a very clear channel. And it came through. I was like, I'm confused. I asked my guides, I was like, I so badly like want to do this detoxing, but then I like also really want to do Ahai. Like I'm confused on like what I'm supposed to do with this because I know it's deeply rooted with the vessel and energy work.
Mm,
And she's like, they're showing me like you're giving Ahai, but you're doing a lymphatic drainage with Ahai. It was like after she said that, I reflected on everything and I'm like, oh my God, like this is it. Then the energetic detox like came through and like how I'm gonna do this and how I'm gonna use everything I've learned in the science world, which I know there's a lot that we need to expand on and learn in the energy world. I know it's not all,
mhm.
real and true. But as of right now, until I learn else otherwise, until they show me otherwise, which they have shown me through this container, which we'll talk about, I'm going to use the energy to heal different parts of the physical body. So, like, for
Mm,
example, if somebody has an HPA axis dysregulation and they have, they're pumping out so much high cortisol through their adrenals, I'm going to use a high energy to help soothe that HPA axis and regulate it and remove the blocks with this
mm.
energy and help like cool off the adrenals and soothe the adrenals with energy and remove any blocks that are in that, feedback loop. That's just like one example. And so it was born through it was sparked in that session I had with her, and then I just like riffed off that, and I kind of set the intention. I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn too, guys. Like, you're gonna show me, the guides are gonna show me how this container needs to be set up, because we need to marry these two worlds. Well, all three worlds,
Mm.
really. This needs to come to one. Like, people need this container. Like, they do.
Yeah, people need this like so bad. And I didn't even realize how bad I needed it. And so I just want to note like for many years, I never thought that I had just like a little side thing. I never thought that I had like any physical symptoms or physical issues. I was like, I don't know what all these, friends or family members would have like, oh, just like, several things come up or surgeries or anxieties or pains or aches, and I'm just like, "The fuck?" Like, I guess me and my like, I guess I'm fine, and I was so disconnected and separated from even recognizing what my body was trying to communicate with me that I never really acknowledged that there was some foundational things or, what did come up, I just kinda slough off and just not really acknowledge. But at the same time, I mean, people can look at how they feel like what sickness is or what illness is or what aches and pains or problems they have. And so I think you could experience like, okay, these few things that happen in my body aren't bad enough or sick enough or intense enough that you don't need support to help with that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So I had a lot of like subtle things that had happened within my body the last year that I was just intuitively kind of breadcrumbing trying to solve on my own. And you can only get so far that way. I only got so far. And I have to say, even like one of those big things was my bloating issues. And I've definitely talked about my parasite cleanse experience and stuff, but I just essentially just raw dog that. Like I was like, okay, I'm just learning these things on Instagram. Someone
Mhm.
says this cleanse is good. I'm gonna do that. I had no idea that, roughly just a little bit of information on what detox pathway was or but I didn't know anything really how to do that. And I was just kind of throwing shit at the fan. And I was just like, okay, we'll see if this kind of helps. And so the more I acknowledged, okay, I have a few things actually that I would want to help with my body or feel more comfortable or whatnot. And I was just trying to piece together with myself. And like we said earlier, there's so much information with what's out there. And some of it's super helpful for that person and is resonant, but is going to be detrimental to you. What I love about your container is that where okay you don't have to have all these severe sickness illnesses or maybe you do but it's like okay maybe like my main issues in what I wanted to address was my current insomnia that I was having that I had never experienced before in my life and I had this on and off bloating issues and so it was like these subtle things that I wanted to work on to just optimize with myself and then you're able to offer this energetic scan, which I want you to talk about, where I have never worked with a practitioner like this. I have never gotten an energetic scan. I've never had my blood work. I mean, when little things come up, I would, go to a doctor, but there's only so much. Several months ago, I had an issue where I had lost my period. And then the only thing that I had blood work done, and she was like, yeah, well, maybe you have thyroid issues, or maybe you have, issues that and she named off all these things that could be wrong with me and of course I go like
Yeah.
so I was like my thyroid I was like and of course that puts you into fear and it was like oh just see if it comes back and gave me no information on how to like tap into that or what to support with my body so anyways I was just on this path right and yeah so it was really refreshing to be a container with a practitioner that was so specific on this energetic scan gave me all these things of what I had experienced in the last several years. And it was just, yeah. So I want to say that you don't have to have major problems to do this. You optimize energetically and physically, and no issue is so small that it can't
Yes.
be solved. And you'd be surprised actually how connected everything is. So I want you to talk about the
Yeah.
energetic scan and kind of like the setup of that first session because
Yeah.
and I'll speak about my experience with it, but I literally have not experienced anything like this. I want everybody to go through this because it is literally like all of the women, I mean,
I
and men,
know.
whatever, but everybody needs to go through this because I mean, as a previous background in healthcare and wanting to help people heal And I thought I was going to go on this holistic journey. We kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to support people in a more holistic way. That is not my path. That's not my journey. But to be and able to be so clear in what my mission is through this container because of that clarity with my soul and my body. But I have to say that, like, if I were to try to design something or like this would be it. This is what we need of this mind, body, spirit connection with using science. And okay, so this is from your website, but this is what I feel like this little wrap up, and then I'll have you answer the question. Is
Yeah.
like integrative, what did I say? It was science, natural medicine, and energy healing just makes a baby. And like
Hell
that's what you're
yeah.
here to give.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about the scan, tell me about those
Yeah.
things, but I wanted to share that.
So before I get into the process of how this works in the scan, I want to talk about, thank you so much for bringing this up, because this is another one of my whys for creating this container is like, you said you didn't necessarily have all these health problems, right? And you're feeling like you're getting more clear in your mission and you're able to connect better. And that's another part of my why is like, we need light workers. We need all the light workers we can get to be really stepping up into their mission and living an intuitively led life and
Mm,
birthing all of the miracles that they're here to bring through onto this world. And they need a clear vessel to do that. And they need to be so
yeah.
deeply connected. And after going through this process, your vessel is going to be a lot clearer, your energy body is going to be clearer, and you're going to be able to connect with these symptoms. Like, I want you to be more, like, in a way, sensitive after this container, because I want you to be able to, your vessel and your energy body is going to be so clear that you're going to be able to tell when this tiniest thing is out of alignment in your life. You're going to be like, I feel this in my body. I feel this isn't in alignment with me. I'm going to shift and choose a path that's in alignment. And it's going to make you more sensitive to your mission and clear with your mission on how you're supposed to move through this world to bring that through. So I thank you for saying that, because I did want to touch on that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a huge
And I
part of
think
my
that was
why.
yeah, and that wasn't super, I can't remember if that was one of my intentions of like the thoughts, but that wasn't like a huge intention of like, oh, I want more clarity with what I'm doing because, it didn't even dawn on me that could be a result, but it was like out of doing these things and through your protocol and through your energy healing, things became so much clearer. And I know for those that are following the journey from my journey from Erica to Stormy, like that has been a huge energetic shift within myself. And literally what you have been allowing me to do or have had this space in my body and energy field is I've been able to really land in my body with this new energy, and it literally has been able to turn things online so much quicker and so much like solid and crystal clear and be like, yeah, this is it. This is it. And it's like all systems go. And like you said, light workers and energy healers. And I mean, for this new creation, and, all of us typically we hate what's going on in the world. We hate the structures, we hate the systems, we're frustrated with leaders, all this stuff. But for us to really be a part of that change, to shift into the new earth, into the new paradigms, the new templates, and the new dynamics, we need to be able to be in our bodies and be in our energy and have that clear, okay, this is the direction I'm meant to go, and this is what I'm helping create in the world. And it helps you get rid of some of those issues that you'd have with limiting beliefs or self-sabotaging habits or feeling confused and chaotic in the head and all that kind of stuff. And that blocks you to be able to really be clear on what you're here to offer.
Yes.
Mission and energy and clarity was like the one of the biggest things that I have gotten. And I'm not even done with I'm not
I
even done
know.
with your
I
container.
know, we're
I'm
getting
like,
we're
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, yeah. So, okay. But yeah,
okay.
talk about the scans a bit. Okay.
Yeah. So with the scan, I still use blood work in my practice, but the scan I just feel is in so much more alignment with this specific container. And I feel like people respond to it a lot better because it gives you such a beautiful layout of everything that's going on in your vessel. And so it's called a Creating Balance Health Scan. And what it does is it uses frequency to identify what's going on in your vessel. So essentially, you have to send in a few strands of hair or fingernail clippings, and then they run it through like a frequency machine. So like if you think of a specific parasite, let's just use this as an example, it resonates at a certain frequency. So when they're running it through this frequency machine, it picks up that frequency and it knows, okay, this specific parasite is in there. And then it does the same thing for hormones. It does it for 14 different body systems, different environmental toxins coming up, different nutritional imbalances. So it gives us a really grounded, like really beautiful layout of physically and scientifically like what's going on using energy and frequency, which I love. And then I will take that scan. I will get all the toxins listed. It brings up, different fungus, bacteria, metals, parasites, viruses, Lyme, all these different toxins and different chemicals too. And I will take those toxins. It doesn't tell us this. I like figure this out. So I take the toxins and then I muscle test where these toxins are coming up in your specific vessel and like how much is there. So like I'll muscle test on a scale of 0 to 1,000 and I'll see, okay, what's the priority here? Okay, metals in the thyroid at 900. Okay, that's huge. Oh, versus the virus that's at 400 in your liver. Okay, I see where the priority is here. And then, during that first call, I love the first call because it just, well, one, it blows people's minds, but it blows my mind too, because I love piecing together everything that's coming up in the vessel. And then I'll tune in energetically before the call a little bit just to see like, okay, ooh, the liver has some of this happening from like, this version of you. Or, like for you in your first session, you had bacteria that was showing up in your mouth. And then you had, there was gut stuff going on with different bacteria and parasites. But the mouth bacteria was a Stormy issue. And, the gut issue was like an Erica issue. So it's like really cool to like tune in to see like, okay, the root cause of why this toxin is resonating in this organ and why there's so much there. And then like piecing together like, okay, yep, the liver's stressed here with these toxins and these emotions and these energetics there. And this is causing the issue with your thyroid because, thyroid hormone needs to be converted in your liver in order to become active in your thyroid to use it, and your whole body to use it. So I can like piece together the physical pieces, the energetic components, and like just lay out this really beautiful health blueprint of everything that's going on physically and energetically. And then I explain it to you and explain to you how these blocks are directly connected to your physical or emotional symptoms, and then it's a long call. The first call is 3 hours. And then after we go through all of your intake forms, we go through the scan, we go through, all of your symptoms, and I piece it all and lay it all out for you. We take a short little break and then we transition into the true Ahai session. And that's where like, usually, I mean, I never know what's going to happen in the first session. Sometimes I have to do some foundational work and get everything like open and in place. But like instead of focusing on specific chakras, which I mean, I do that, but like I'm focusing on the issues that are coming up on the scan. And I will like, like for you in the very first session, I did a lot of tonsil clearing and clearing of that bacteria and the frequency that was stuck in your tonsils from old versions of yourself that were suppressing Stormy. So it's like so amazing. I'm sorry, like
Geeking
I
out.
don't mean to be that person who's like geeking out over their own
No,
stuff,
please.
but
Like,
like
please.
my mind has
Yeah.
been blown from this because I will be honest, in my session with Jordana, I was like, seriously, like this is possible. Like I could give an energetic lymphatic drainage massage, and they specifically told me like it's going to work, but you also
Uh-huh.
need to be convinced that it's going to work. And so I went into this container building it with complete surrender, and I'm like, okay, show me, help me, guide me, show me how we need to marry these two worlds and how the energetics are connected to our organs in different body parts. And that has been so fascinating to learn along with you guys. Like, cause I'm just, I'm facilitating the energy healing and I'm using my science brain to like regulate different scientifical things in the body. However, the guides come through and show me these really profound connections that the energy world has to different organs and glands and body parts, which
Ugh,
we can talk about a little
yeah.
bit. Like with you
Yeah.
specifically, you were the first person to like bring this through, but with the thymus, you had a lot of stuff going on with your thymus, and that's a really big part of your immune system, your lymphatic system. And like in the science world, basically, I feel like the thymus just like doesn't get talked about very much. It's
It's
just
like one of
like
those
there.
things like, "Oh, you have it in your body,
Yeah.
like, there's no real function, we could take it
Yeah.
out." Like, I
Yeah.
feel like it's like yeah, and you're
I
like,
have like I have been working in a hospital for over a decade, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone say the word
"Oh."
thymus.
Yeah, that's, like, the weirdest thing is that you have all this medical background, you go to school, and then you go down this fucking hole to be able to, like, learn more about the body and the spirit and all these things, and you're like, "I wasn't even taught any of
No,
this." Like, this is we're not like
I know.
lymph and detoxing and all this is so huge, and I swear to God, I don't remember any of that from
No,
school. So,
absolutely not.
it's almost like a relearning, and
It
so it's so
is.
cool that your guides are able to really be like, "Okay, this is the information," because a lot of the stuff that we have is so outdated, it's
Mhm.
so capped, it's so specific to and I won't get super into it, of, like, the drugs and all that kinda stuff of just the business of making
Yeah.
money, and
Yes.
it's just incredible, and I wanna go okay, so we talk about a little bit of the thymus, but I wanna go back to the throat,
Okay, yeah.
and for me in, like, my sessions, so the throat has been really interesting in, like, my health experience because several years ago, when I was living in New York City, super fucking out of alignment, I had issues with peritonsillar abscesses, and so I would get these abscesses, my throat would close, I would freak out, you can't swallow, I'm thinking it's an airway issue, am I not gonna be able to breathe? And so, I've had to go in several times, it's so gross, but, like, I had to go into the emergency room and, like, have to get it stabbed with a needle to get it drained because it was, like, so big, and then once I knew that 'cause this had happened over the course of, like, maybe a year and a half, multiple times, and I would know the signs and symptoms of what it would feel like, my voice would change, and then I'd have to be like, "Okay." Then I started to realize I needed a steroid with the antibiotic because the antibiotic didn't work, the steroid had to reduce the swelling, so then I would be whenever I'd get this feeling, I'd have to convince the practitioner I was with to be like, "This my throat will close in 24 hours if I don't get a steroid." And it's one of those scenarios where they're like, I don't really think so. Like, we don't really prescribe
Mhm.
that." And I was like, "I am gonna just don't want to be stabbed in the throat. Like, please give me a steroid." And so, anyways, I had this occurrence over and over. And the only solution that I was given, and I was consulted to go to an ENT, and they told me like, "Oh, you're gonna have to get your tonsils out." And I was petrified. Like, I haven't had any major surgeries. The fact of like hearing that it's so difficult to take out, especially in adulthood, and you need 2 weeks off. And at the time, I'm working full time. I work nights. I'm in CTICU. I was like, I don't even have PTO for that.
Yeah.
Like, what? How can I do that? And so once I started to make different decisions in my life in alignment, I think things got worse or they got better because I was using my voice because and what you've able to bring clarity to me even is the codes and the energy, and my mission has everything to do with my voice and the frequency of that. And when I'm podcasting, interviewing, light language, my energy healing. So, anyways, fast forward, and I totally forgot about this. And we're in the container, and you're like, "Oh, you have this bacteria that started in your gut that it can cause issues in your mouth." And I'm like, and you're like, "It's antibiotic resistant." And I was like, "Are you fucking shitting me?" It's like all these things that, okay, all these random things that happen all have reasons and make sense. And so when I'm able to look at that scan and you're going through this, and I literally told you, I was like, "Please explain everything like I'm not a nurse, like just regular person," because a lot of this I don't know.
Yeah.
And so when you had gone through this, I was just I mean, I couldn't pick up my jaw because it was every system and every little nuanced things that I had issues with over the years or in most recent, it just was like, "Oh, this is why. This is the." But that was the biggest thing of like, "Oh, that makes so much sense. That antibiotic didn't work without the steroid because it was resistant and all the issues that, the solution to it isn't taking something out, but maybe what's actually causing the, the
Yeah.
bacteria. So that was just insane for me that was a huge moment for me in my body connection. Cause I was like, whoa, cause I was really hating on my throat and like, it really fucking sucks to not, not feel well and then
Yes.
have to like go get your throat stabbed. And then I'm overseas. It happened to me
Yeah.
one time and it's really, it's really scary. And yeah, I
Yeah,
just
the
had to
throat
go
is
back to that
so
throat.
sacred. And,
Mhm.
it was so interesting to going back to our first session with these throat problems when I tuned into the frequency of your tonsils. We had like the old version of you in New York was still there when all this bacteria stuff was happening. It's like, okay, you've transformed, you're on this path of embodying Stormy. Your frequency is so much higher than that version of you in New York. But why is this bacteria still resonating in your mouth and your tonsils? And it's because
Mm.
that energetically, that old version of you was still in your tonsils and hanging out there. And we needed to just release it alongside, supportive supplements to help
Mhm.
clear these things. So it was just that session was just so profound for both you and me. Like every session is so
Yeah.
profound for me
Yeah.
because I love the body. I love energetics. I love learning what this unique container is being created, how it's being created, what's coming through in it and how the guides are leading it and like we're co-creating this healing. It's
Yeah.
just been so
Yeah.
amazing.
I want to segue now to the parasites because bloating and parasites, I feel like this is a huge topic as of late, especially in like the health and wellness area, but which I think is really cool. And I had no idea up until this last year that we all have parasites in us and it's getting them to a level of that is less in our body that is like not causing harm to us. But I started to wake up to this of like, okay, I'm having this serious bloating. And that also had to do with energetic stuff that I had talked to about in previous episodes about my snakes, but it was outside of that. And I want you to talk about like when you tuned in the parasites, what they actually do for us, how they help us, and what actually happens when we release them
Yes.
and what that kind of process is. Cause this is also really
I
cool.
know this was so amazing. So, a really cool message came through in one of your sessions. You were talking about how you're like having all these old limiting beliefs come up, and you felt they were very surface level, right? Like, you felt
Hmm.
like you didn't need to go deep and do a bunch of shadow work. You were recognizing, like, okay, this is so not who I am. Why are these beliefs coming up? And when I tuned into it, they showed me the parasites, we'll back up just a little bit. Parasites in general do protect you in a way because they absorb bacteria, heavy metals, mold, lime. They absorb these things, right? And then when you kill them off, they release them. That's why it's so important to have a binder when you're parasite cleansing.
Mm.
But what they also do is they absorb those frequencies, those limiting beliefs, all that frequency of these old versions of yourself, they are absorbing that frequency. And so think about it. You have had these parasites in your gut for all these old versions of you. And
Hmm.
as you're killing them off, they showed me like they die, and then this frequency gets released into the vessel to be cleared once and for all. And so that was so amazing. I'm like, it's okay. Like, we just need to, like, literally get in there and just whoosh, like, wipe it all out.
I was freaking out before that session because okay, if you've never done a parasite cleanse, you're like, whatever, they're you when they're released, I mean, you shit them out. And so I had before one of our sessions, for the lack of better words,
Yeah.
because people get really confused. They're like, what? And so okay, maybe just I don't know if I'm going to butch this up, but is it that the supplements that I'm taking, do they somewhat like paralyze the parasites? So then you're able to like poop them out
Yeah. So
and
we have a
release them, right?
combination. I mean, everybody requires a different parasite combination, but this is probably the most common that I use at different dosages for different people. But
Yeah.
you're on two. So the para one is like it's pumpkin seed extract. It's really, really sticky and it helps slough them off your intestinal wall and like grab onto them. And then you're
Mm.
taking the para three, which is a really potent herbal tincture that like stuns and paralyzes them and kills them.
Right.
So
Okay.
yes, and then you can eliminate them via bowel. I mean, I've had people pee out parasites. I've had
Whoa.
people blow out parasites, and everybody has parasites. It's just a
Uh-huh.
matter of getting, and we're never going to get rid of them all. We're always going to be hosts. So the goal is to
Right.
just get them down the lower place. We don't need
Where they're
this
actually
high.
helpful
Yes.
for us rather than harmful.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So right before one of our sessions, when I was on this started the parasite cleanse, I felt like I was like, yeah, I know the feeling now when I get like super bloated or uncomfortable, sometimes a little nauseous, where I'm like, okay, I need to do an enema. Something's trying to move.
Yes.
And so I did an enema, a huge one came out. And yeah, it was right after that. I had all of those just old things, old thoughts that I was like, what? Why is this coming up again? Like we moved past that. And I was honestly kind of freaked out about it because I was like, I thought this was a huge block that I had already moved through. When you had given that perspective of, oh, this is just coming up to be finally released, was just really refreshing to be like, oh, and it made so much sense to me and had so much resonance when you were saying that. When we release these, then energies come out when they're released. And then we're just able to be like, boop, okay, done with that. Thank you so much for holding on to that. But we don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool thing, that to just know what parasites do for us and what happens when you do have a release, be aware of that, because it's can be really, I don't know, scary to go
It
back into those
is. It
thoughts
is.
sometimes when you're like, wait, am I going back down that slippery slope of all those thoughts? And it can be a little bit
Yeah.
unnerving, but it's for the best to be able to continue on. But
And two
yeah.
things on that. One, that's why people can release parasites just with energy healing because the
Mm.
frequency is so high in clearing
Ah,
that, like, the parasite literally cannot hold. It can't hold when that frequency is so high. It
wow.
has to release. And so I had a client message me after the first session. She hadn't even gotten her parasite supplements yet. And she's like, I'm already releasing parasites. And then
Wow.
with that, too, I was also going to bring this up in our next session, but in a different session, it came through like because this whole frequency parasite thing came up in your session. And then I, used that in a different session. However, they told me like you can charge your binder to latch on to old versions of yourself because what are we like intention is everything with energy. And so like we can charge our binder and our parasite supplements, with specific intention. So with if I'm charging my binder and my parasite supplements to clear out all old versions of myself, it's going to specifically pick up parasites and frequencies from old versions of yourself that are ready to be released, like specifically.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is really cool because when shifting beliefs, we know we can start to do affirmations and journal and repeat things and kind of get to the root of things. And sometimes we try to do everything from the logical route. And that is a really cool thing to just note on, to be able to, like, okay, energetically, you could just say, hey, this binder, we're going to bind everything that doesn't serve us anymore, that thoughts that we don't want. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's like starting to move within that energy of like letting that work for us and do multiple things for us at the same time. So
Definitely.
that's really cool. Okay, I want to touch on then what we learned with the gut digestion and how that relates to our clarity of making
Yes.
decisions. And
And I also want to go back to the thymus after we talk about this.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so with you specifically, they were showing me like the our stomach acid and the clarity that we have in our digestive system, specifically in our stomach acid, is directly connected to the energetics of clarity and being able to make a concise decision, clear, concise decision. Because if you think about the energetics of the stomach acid, it's very acidic. It's the first line of defense that your gut has for immunity,
Mm,
right? Like you're bringing stuff from the outside world, you're putting it in, and your stomach acid is either killing it off or allowing it to come through to feed your vessel, right? Think
mm,
about the clarity that your stomach acid needs in order to decipher. You're not allowed in, you're allowed in. We need you, we don't need you. We need to have crystal clear, abundant, acidic stomach acid for a very potent, fertile digestive system, or like fertile, maybe not the right word, but like nourished. That's the word.
Nourished, yeah, there you go.
Vibrant. I'm lacking on a word there, but you get the point.
It's okay.
So it's like for you specifically, the message came through. Actually, no, this was a general message for everybody that I told you in a session. When you're feeling confused and you're trying to make a decision, stomach acid is key. And so, like, I always, after that message, I'm like, I'm always having digestive bitters on hand. I'm always having digestive enzymes on hand.
Mm,
Because when
mhm.
I'm going to be making, because still, even though I'm embodied and I'm like on this intuitive path, like, there's still going to be sticky points in my life where I'm going to feel like I need clarity on a decision. So I'm going
Mhm.
to use my physical vessel and like fortify and make my stomach acid crystal clear so that I can be really clear in my energetics and making decisions. And so, like with you, you're going to be going through your storage locker here soon. And it's like
Yes.
during that, when you do that, like we went over, like, we need you to be taking your stomach acid or your digestive bitters, and we want you to be on drainage essentials to help get everything flowing and moving and be really clear so that you can decipher what is resonant to take with you in this next phase of your journey and what is not. So that was
Yes.
really
Yeah.
profound.
And that was huge because that came through in a few different ways in that session where I was like, okay, I'm in a space where I've had all of my belongings like locked in a little pod for the last several years as I've been traveling around trying to be transition, and I'm ready to like resolve that. And so I literally said in session, this is going to be a lot to digest for myself because this literally, I was like,
Ding, ding,
and
ding.
I actually, yeah. And I think actually I might have even said that earlier that day to my mom. I was like, this is going to be so much to digest because it was connected, it was literally it's connected to so much of that past version of me, of me as Erica being in New York, having this house, in these different relationship dynamics. There's so many cords that are attached to
Yeah.
that with certain people that I'm just ready to like release. And I was feeling really overwhelmed with that. And it was so helpful when you had said this. I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Where that digestive enzymes to be able to be like, okay, let's activate this and use this knowledge that we have to like, okay, when the pod's delivered, then I can take some digestive enzymes that day, have really good active, stomach acid to be able to digest these things. And another thing that you had said was that to finish this round of parasite cleansing too, because all of those old beliefs and thoughts and thought patterns are being released with these parasites. And if I go through this pod with still those ruminating and held on, I'm going to still kind of be in that level or version of myself and maybe not be able to get rid of everything properly or move through things in the most clear way. And so
Yes.
those were two huge things that you were able to offer me and be like, okay, this feels so much better to then take this task and really just digest all of this.
Yeah.
And so that was
I
really
know.
cool.
And that's why I'm so obsessed with this container because like every single session they're teaching me more about the body. Like for
Yeah.
going back to the thymus, like what I was saying with conventional medicine, like all they really talk about with the thymus is that at the age of 10, it becomes like less active and like fat forms around it. And they showed me how like inner child is directly connected to your thymus. And by doing thymus, I don't want to like mess up the microphone, but like thymus healing and activations, like tapping, humming, vagus nerve work, and then also like doing detox work and doing inner child play is going to activate your thymus because it's like this
Mm.
magical like portal to the divine, right? Like think about the
Mhm.
energetics. We're so connected as kids. We're so sorry, this is falling off. we're
Readjust, you're getting too
we're
hyped on it.
yeah. We're so immersed in the world of magic and miracles as kids. Sorry,
Yeah.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
And then
Adjust, yeah.
of course, okay, at the age of 10, like our thymus just isn't as active, like really.
Mhm.
And so the two go hand in hand, like you can really heal your thymus with inner child play, but then vice versa, like you can connect deeper to your inner child by healing your thymus.
Yeah.
So that was really magical.
Yeah, remind me again with the thymus, you had said that, okay, because we know the pituitary gland is that like third eye, you start to decalcify that if you're in that spiritual awakening aspect where you're trying to decalcify that, you're trying to get connected more to that inner eye knowing. But you had said, you're like, whoa, actually, the thymus is also a huge spiritual uh that I don't think that a lot of people are really turned on to yet, where it's like that's not really a huge talked about thing. So
Yeah.
when you start playing into that and going into that childhood and that play and that kind of stuff, that is, I know that you had said in my session, which I know will be applied for everybody, is that once you, yeah, work with that hum, I hum and tap. Sometimes when I get out of the shower, if there's a song or something, and it helps kind of stimulate and activate that, which could help your intuitive abilities or your, um,
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's another thing we do with Ahai is we can decalcify the pineal gland and really get that
mhm,
clear because that's such an intuitive gland. And with the
yeah,
thymus, with you specifically, I remember in your energy healing session, as I was reactivating your thymus and like sending this Ahai energy and like recharging it, they showed like your entire lymphatic system like reconnect because that's what it is. Your thymus
yeah.
basically makes your immune cells smart and tells them like how to act. And so I like energetically revived it and it showed me the direct connection to your physical eyes and it's like your ability to like see different dimensions and connect into the spiritual world is directly connected
Mhm,
to your thymus. It like they showed
mhm,
me. So that's why inner child play is so important and healing the
mhm.
thymus. It's like this portal to be able to see different dimensions is basically what they were showing me. It was really fascinating.
Ugh, it's so cool. That's why the body's so
I
cool. There's so much
know.
to it to be able to for us to,
Yeah.
like, tap into. Oh my god. Um, that's I just continuously feel like this is just nuts. I wanna, I guess, speak a little bit about, experience with your high healing. Like, you deliver so much information. We go through the scan. You have the foundational understanding about what needs to be worked on in your body. You go over what supplements in your container. This is in her energetic detox container we're talking about. And so you go through what supplements would be super additive and helpful for you and what what could help detox you. And then so that's like just incredible. And then you go to your second session where you kind of start doing a high energy healing and you have a high energy healing every session that you are working with the protocols too. In your energy healing, I have not gotten such clear, distinct visuals like psychically in my third eye and visions throughout these sessions. And I think there's a few things that are going on there of your actual energy healing, but then also the process of my body being so open and receptive and more clear physically for me to be able to like really tune in to be like, okay, whoa, all this shit's happening. So when you're doing the energy healing, I'm like blasted off somewhere having all these visuals. And then you're able to give what's been even the coolest part is that you tell me, okay, this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what they told me, this is what I saw, blah, blah, blah. And then I am just like, just awestruck with it because then all the visuals that I had seen specifically match and mirror everything that you see. So you're almost even helping me kind of decode my own language psychically of like, oh, so that's what that meant. I was wrapped up in the spider web and this is my nervous system. So it's just been really interesting of a process, and I don't know if everybody will have that specific experience. I mean, all of our skills and visions are different, but I know visually this has hugely turned on within this container, like the most viscerally and vivid way that I have experienced thus far in my own gifts. And so that's been really exciting. So I just have to add that to your power of energy healing in this detox.
I
So
love that. I love,
yeah.
and that is so exciting for me too as a practitioner because like I'm having my whole experience and you're having your whole own experience. And then when the session is over and we talk about everything that came through, it is so amazing to hear what you experienced and how it's directly
Yeah.
connected to what I experienced. And
Yeah.
I love it. I love energy healing so much because every session is so unique. And I love, yeah, everybody's going to have a different experience as a receiver. It's like even me as a receiver to this day, every single session I have, there's sessions where I just sleep. There's sessions where I'm like so connected and seen and feeling everything. And then there's sessions where I'm just like, my mind is like racing. Every session is so different. It doesn't matter though, what you feel or
Mhm.
what, it's still happening for you. It's still
Right.
happening. But with
The energy's still moving.
but with you, you're right on. Like your vessel, the more you clear your vessel, the easier connected to your gifts you are, because that's what our bodies are our gifts. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like our
Yeah,
bodies
yes.
come through our gifts, like that gut knowing, your intuition. That's your body. How are you going to feel your intuition without that knowing in your body? And like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
with
Oh,
the
so much
container,
juiciness.
so
Yes.
yes, we have our first session where it's 3 hours. The first half is we go over all the physical stuff. The second half, we do an energy healing, the first one. And then every session after that, which the container itself is 4 sessions. And then once that's over, you have the ability to like enroll in another 4 session package or just do monthly, which is 2 sessions. So we're
Okay.
we're meeting every other week for sessions. It's a 4 session package. Essentially, it's 2 months. So after the first 3 hour session, each session is about an hour and a half. Sessions have been going over, so they're closer to 2 hours, to
You
be
do a
honest.
lot in these
We
sessions,
do a
but
lot.
yeah,
So
yeah.
with that too, I'm muscle testing and feeling into intuitively what supplements your body needs in this moment to clear these specific toxins.
Mhm.
And then something else that's very cool. Well, I'll finish this thought, but remind me to go back to toxin energetic piece. So
Okay.
in the follow-up sessions, we're like making adjustments to your protocol as we go and based on what comes up energetically. But each session we just go deeper and deeper into the energetics and the physical piece of what's coming through with your vessel, and we just like take it to the next level. Like for you, that maybe like the first session was a lot of throat and gut stuff, then we went into a lot of lymph stuff. Then we went into nervous system work. So, like, each session is going to be different and it's totally divinely led and intuitively led. Like, I'm not going in with the specific intention of we have to fix the liver today. It's just,
Mm.
okay, what wants to come through? What are we working on? And then what supplements does her vessel need to support her in this next,
Yeah.
detoxification stage? And
Yeah.
with that too, I talk about, okay, like your vessel really wants a coffee enema like twice a week, or hold on the coffee enema. It's too much right now. Let's just stick with saunas, and vice
Mhm.
versa. And then we talk about nutrition, about what's in alignment. And for you, like a lot of elixirs and drinks are coming through for
Mhm.
specifically like dandy or burdock root tea, and then
Yeah.
it was like,
And I didn't know what that tasted like, and as soon as I had this tea, I swear to God, like, my body was like like, it was just like, "What is this?" I just couldn't get enough cups, and then you also, like at one point, it was watermelon and cucumber water, and then we had this it's been a variety of things that in each phase my body
yeah,
needs, and then whenever I have that, when you recommend it, it's just like my body just soaks it up. It's like when you're so thirsty and you just have this refreshing drink and you're like, "Oh,
yeah.
I needed that." It's like when I have these weird things and I taste it and I'm just like, "Whoa, I didn't realize how bad I needed that." So it's been really interesting having those experiences.
Yeah, and that's why you're moving through this so quickly. Like, we haven't even finished our container yet. You've had 3 sessions and you're almost done. You're almost done detoxing. Like, I think we maybe need a couple more sessions and then we're going to rescan and see all the magic that's happened. But you feel the magic that's
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's what's so amazing is because we are taking action every 2 weeks on and we're making adjustments to your protocol and what's alignment for this next phase, because energy is always changing, the body's always changing,
Mhm.
and we're taking action on changing and moving with that alignment every 2 weeks, that you're moving through this so freaking quickly. And the fact that like the energetic piece and the physical piece is making people move through this so quick. And another thing I wanted to really quickly too, I tune into like physical movement. Like, what does your body want? Does it want cardio?
Mm,
Does it want lifting? Like, cause that's going to change
yeah.
too. And so everybody's different. And intuitively, I can feel into this person literally just needs to walk. Like, it is way too much for their body to be doing cardio. And that's a big resistance piece for their vessel right now. And why they're feeling so stuck is they're
Yeah.
pushing it in cardio when really we need to focus on the energetics. We need to get your liver a little bit more clean, and you just need to walk. Like, that's all your body can handle. And so vice versa for everybody's different. And something really cool that came through in a session too recently was like one of her biggest goals is skincare. Like, she wants really clear skin. She's, has skin conditions and issues. And it came through like her body really wants a specific toner to help with that.
Mm.
So like I'm
Whoa.
playing with the idea of like intuitively feeling into different products for people depending on their goals. And that goes with like muscle testing product or muscle testing supplements, right? I'm already doing that with supplements, so why not do it with like beauty products if we need it? And
Wow.
something else I really wanted to play with was this that came through in a session, which was fucking fascinating. We talk so much about clearing this and clearing this toxin and removing this and detoxing this. Well, in this last session, Goddess Isis was like really right there with me in this session. She came through really strongly.
Uh-huh.
And she really brought through this idea of what if you weren't so afraid of these toxins and you didn't feel like you needed to remove them from your vessel, but you transmuted their frequency so that they work for you.
Huh.
So,
Wow.
for example, this client had a virus in her pancreas, and we did some pancreas healing, like energetically, to like clear it. But we basically like energetically gave the virus a virus by like programming it to work for your body instead of like working against it to work with it. And also with she had some metals in her throat and in her liver, we like energetically melded the metals to this like liquid fortification to like strengthen her vessel and fortify her vessel, like fortify her throat. And so there is like, you don't have to fear these toxins. They bow to you. We can transmute the frequency of these toxins and help them work with your vessel, because really it's the frequency of certain things that cause so much disruption. And so
Wow.
it was so freaking fascinating. That session was so amazing, but it was basically like, and that's the essence of a goddess, right? She can transmute anything. She is not afraid of anything because she can
Yes.
recreate anything. And
Right.
Isis came so potently through in this fearlessness of like, quit fearing these toxins, change the frequency, remove what you can from your body, and then focus on changing the frequency of them. And they bow to you. Like, and when
Mm.
you come from that frequency versus, well, yeah, I have metals in my throat. I don't know if I'm ever going to heal again. Like, there's this like fear piece, right? Or like Lyme. Lyme is really traumatizing to people because it really dysregulates their body and their physical everyday life. And so when you come from this disease controls me to no,
Mm.
I am empowered. I'm removing these toxins from my body with these beautiful natural supplements while transmuting the frequency to make them work for me. Like, the power
Yeah.
piece to that is so amazing. And that's why, like, I'm telling you, every session I learn something new, and it's been incredible. It's been incredible. Ugh, and I wish this was
Ah.
something that I had created for me when I was entering my journey, but now it's even funner because, I get to
Yeah,
do it and
because you're
it's
able
so
to create it. And honestly, that point that you just ended on kind of full circle brings us back to the beginning of our conversation of remembering that you have power and you're able to utilize your body and your energy in a very powerful and empowered state and really feel like you are co-creating your with your body with the energy around you and your life. And I feel like even when you said that's so wild for what is in our body, and we think we like constantly will give that away to outside people or government or toxins or all these things, and we just give all of that power away, thinking that we are not in control of that, or yeah, or feel very powerless in a lot of those scenarios, especially when it comes to health, when people are really struggling with issues. So the way that you phrase that and the way that we can reshift that thought and that belief and even that template of how we feel about these things in our body, we can kind of take that power back into ourselves and be like, oh, I can use this for myself. It is that, that little nuanced thing that like, oh, this is happening to me versus this is happening for me. It's like, oh, this inside me is for me and it's going to help me do X, Y, and Z. So that's really cool to be able to shift that and rethink about things that are happening within us.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
so
brilliant.
empowering. And that's what we
Yeah.
need in the health and wellness space. We need empowerment. We need freedom, we need empowerment, and we need intuition because that's what is going to guide you through your journey. And
Yeah.
that's what's so special about this container. And, like going back to this nursing piece, like my third why of this container is like I work in a hospital and I see every single day the line here, like, we can't help you, but here's this medication. Come back in 3 months, we'll do a scan. If
Mm,
that doesn't work, we'll change your medication. And
mm,
there's so many unknown diseases. I work at a very well-known big hospital, and so a lot of people come there from all over the world, and I see the craziest cases where people, like, they're diagnosing it as this really rare autoimmune disorder or a
mm.
pseudo disease where they don't know what's causing it. And I'm not like shitting all over the medical system because there are very beautiful things that have come out of the medical system. And
Of course.
watch people, literally like their lives be changed from surgery and things like that. So I'm not there's beauty, but there's downfalls. And this is one of the downfalls. And I'm not going to rely, I do not want me, my family, my kids, my beautiful light worker friends to have to rely on the answer. I don't know. Here's a medication that costs
Mm.
thousands of dollars. Let's see if this helps. And also, it's like,
Fingers crossed,
yeah.
It's like, what?
And I'm like, I was literally taking care of this woman, and she, like, all of a sudden could barely walk and talk. And they literally can't figure out what's wrong with her. And
Wow.
that was the only alternative that they had. And my heart literally broke. And I'm like, no, like every shift I go into the hospital, I no longer like walk in. I walk into it as like it's fuel for me. Like I walk in there and
Mm.
I'm like looking at this woman, and my heart is breaking. My sacral is just on fire. And I'm like, I have got to make this work. I have got to figure this out because people need a new way of healing. Like they need
Mhm.
it. Like this woman needs it. People need it because we need to merge all these worlds together and come together and make a beautiful new method of healing that connects us on all levels. And it's just a really empowering way for me to move through my work day when I go to the hospital. Is like I'm not looking at the hospital like, oh, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. I'm looking at it as, okay, here are the holes. And it's freaking enraging to me. And I need to figure this out to help people because people are suffering and they need to look at their body in a new way and figure out a new way to heal it. And so it's just like switching everything from this fear and this hopelessness and this disconnect to like empowerment and fearlessness. We need to figure this out. And you need to have a clear crystal body and energy body so you can go do your work and enlighten this world with new gifts and new miracles and ideas and change the frequency of the planet. So we all, like, this container just represents so much, and I feel it in like every cell of my body, and I'm so excited for it. I cannot wait to launch it. I'm going to be releasing my wait list or email list here soon, and I'll be opening enrollment most likely early October. But given my schedule with like detoxing my non energy healing clients and working at the hospital and detoxing, taking my ladies through this energetic detox, I can only allow 10 people at once. And so the next time I open up this container will probably be in 2025, like right around the new year is what I'm hoping, but it depends on how quickly people move through this. But they're moving through a lot
Wow.
quicker than regular detoxing. So that's incredible.
Yeah. Wow. Just to think about 2025 when you said that, I was like, oh my God, it is around
I
the
know.
corner. But okay, this is just in it's just yeah, I can't express to you in words exactly what it's been like to go through this container. And I just am so grateful for you to be able to birth this and have this creation of energy and science and holistic lens that you provide, and you at a core just like is such an incredible healer. I mean, you're doing it within all of these jobs that you're doing. You have all this background of experience, and that's what's really cool what you had mentioned before where you're like, okay, how can I fill the holes that I see? And you have all this, and I believe this so deeply about all of our journeys is that we go through these things and then we realize, wait, I see holes in these things. I'm here to fill those. Like, this is what I'm here to offer the world.
Yes.
And I had that same kind of resonance and feeling of like, I see holes here. I see different holes than you see,
Yes.
and I could fill this in this way. And
Beautiful.
this is how we can really, and it's really funny that you had said that because I used to say when I had worked in ICU, I literally would give the visual of like I feel like my patients are a ship and and I can plug up maybe 5
Yeah.
within my shift with them. At the end of the day, I still feel like this human is a sinking ship.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt so like, can I do like
Yes.
what there's got to be more we can do. And that's where my fuel had been. So it's interesting that you said whole because that was like such a strong visual that I had received within my process of figuring that out. But when you start to work with your energy and your body, you get to actually really figure out, okay, what is my medicine that I provide to the world? How
Yes.
do I help? Like, what is my mission? And really to be like just really feeling vibrant in your body again. And maybe you've never felt that way in your body. And it's a really exciting feeling to feel. And when you do feel more clear and more aware and more sensitive and you're feeling more connected, it's those feelings that like you never want to let go of. And it sometimes it's like you don't know what you haven't experienced. Like you don't know what you're missing if you don't ever try to like get that. So that's why it's like so incredible where you offer this detox of like you might not think that, oh, I could maybe get a little bit out of this, but you don't actually know how much more vibrant and alive and better that you could feel in your body if you don't try. So
Mhm.
that's what going to be my little spiel on like your container.
Yeah.
But it's just yeah. So obviously I will be putting those links in the show notes of how they can sign up for your wait list. Where else can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at Dez Thompson. I will be jumping back on there by the time this is out. I'm definitely going to be back on there. I took a little hiatus. And then you can go to my website through the Energetic Detox waitlist. You just click on the picture and you can come to my website. And I do offer Ahai energy healings, but those will be closed while I get this offer off the ground. I plan on opening that up in 2025. Yeah, but this energetic detox is really the best way to connect with me, and it's the only way to work with me right now, because it's literally the most aligned thing I've ever done, and it's all I want to focus on right now. So I just would love to connect with you. I'd love to see you in this container and just see. I want to learn more too, and I want to see what comes up for everybody, and
Yeah.
like help me help you. Like help me help other
Help
people.
me.
I
It's just
want
like this continue.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like a
Right.
gift. Like I'm going to help you in this and you're going to help me because I'm going to learn even more about the energetics of the body. And so it's just
Yeah.
really this beautiful dance of learning and giving in this container. And I'm just so freaking excited about it. I cannot wait. So please get on the wait list, join it. I can't wait to see you. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And I'll put all those juicy links in the show notes for you to get connected so you can just hop on and see what she's up to. And please freaking join this container. I'm blown away. So I can't say any more about it. And about Des, you specifically and your
Mm.
energy healing and the space that you hold is just, it's exactly what you don't even realize what you need or
Mm.
what you needed. So
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for being here on the show and having this incredible conversation. I knew that we were going to have a long chat,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I don't
I
even know
definitely
how
didn't know
long.
we were. So I appreciate the time and all this knowledge and wisdom and
Mm.
everything that you're sharing with us. And really, at least start the conversation of this connection of the mind, body, spirit in a different way that we really have had words to really figure out how to mesh those two together of that baby that you create with
Yeah.
science, natural medicine, and healing energy. So I just want to say thank you so much. Yeah. Anything else that you have to say to anybody, or do you feel like everything's been complete?
No, I feel like that's really complete. And I
Yeah.
just appreciate your time and I appreciate being here. This was such a amazing conversation and I'm ready to go. I'm ready for this container to be out
Me
in the
too.
world. Let's do it.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.